Howdy folks, welcome to my workshop. Well, actually, welcome to my workbench. It was too pretty of a day to spend my time stuck inside my shed or my shop, so I moved the workbench outside and I figured why not do it here. Enjoy the beautiful weather while we have it, right? Anyway guys, thanks for taking the time to be here today. Today I kind of want to talk about knife sharpening a little bit. Most of us have lots of different solutions for knife sharpening, from Arkansas stones to ceramic rods to, Worksharps and various other manufacturers that make electric sharpeners. And just there's a plethora of sharpening tools on the market today. Well, what I want to talk about today is an attachment for a Ken Onion Worksharp that, in my opinion, opens up worlds of possibilities to people like me who I don't have a fully outfitted shop, and I'm sure most of us probably don't either. So I mean, it totally changed, at least from a hobbyist perspective, what I am able to do as far as sharpening a knife, changing the bevel on a knife, to even go so far as to create a knife. So anyway, that's what I want to talk about today. What is in question is the blade grinder attachment from Worksharp. It goes with their Ken Onion Worksharp. So to avoid a bunch of yakking, what can this thing do? Well, honestly, I'm a hobbyist. I'm not a knife maker. I'm not a knife smith. I'm decent at sharpening up my knives, but as far as when it comes to electric sharpeners, I am kind of a newbie, but I do have a decent amount of experience with the Ken Onion Worksharp. But let's face it, I mean, they made it bomb-proof. As long as you pull it through there slow and don't put too much pressure on there and don't overdo it, you're going to come out with a wicked edge anyway. So there's not much rocket science behind using the Ken Onion Worksharp. Now the belt grinder attachment, it does require more finesse, but that's because it can do so much more. It is a lot more freehand than the Ken Onion Worksharp is that we're all used to, that has the guides that kind of make it really hard to screw it up. So instead of me just standing here trying to explain it to you, let me come around to your side of the table, adjust the camera angle, and show it to you firsthand. Alright folks, well there wasn't enough room on that side of the table for both of us, so I apologize if this looks a little bit awkward. I am doing this backwards. Anyway, this is the box that it comes in, yada yada yada. Okay, so this is what the attachment looks like. You have a nice angle marker here, so you can easily keep track of what angle you have the belt running at. And I know this looks kind of funky. I'll have it put together here in just a minute so it makes more sense. This is your belt tensioner. Quickly go over that. This loaded spring here keeps the appropriate amount of tension on the belt, provides a constant pressure, so as the belt's breaking in and as it wears in and actually ends up wearing out, there's a constant pressure, so there's, it kind of controls the amount of sag you have in the belt when you're actually using it. It's really nice. This right here is to adjust where the belt is running on the rollers here. So anyway, let's go ahead and put this together so this makes a little bit more sense. Alright, so now that we have the main body attached, the next thing you're going to want to do is attach a belt. Now at this point I'm going to pause and say that at some point you will probably want to see this. Hopefully you can see that groove right there in the spring tensioner. You're probably going to want to lube that every once in a while, because as you remove metal and if you grind on any other material, fine particles are going to get built up in there, and you're going to want something to lube it up and just kind of help it to move better. So, and I apologize, this is kind of awkward because I'm doing this backwards. But anyway, you're going to want to install a belt next. Go ahead and pull the tensioner back and push down on that tab. What it does is it locks it back into place and makes putting a belt on very, very easy. This is the retaining screw that goes right here on the drive motor. Now it tightens counterclockwise. It does turn left. The next thing you're going to want to do is kind of roll it with your hand and see where the belt is gravitating to on the pulleys here. See? Now see how it's kind of gravitating to this side? There is a screw right here. You adjust where the pulley rides with this screw. There we go. Now that we have it set up and ready to go, let's talk about the belts that come with it, because beyond just the available angles of the grind that it gives you, and I'll go over that more in just a minute or two, but it also comes with a wide variety of belts as far as the grits and what it can do. So we just put on 120 grit, which is a good foundation. The next grit they come with is what they call their X65, which is the equivalent to 220 grit. It also comes with an X22, which is the equivalent of 1,000. The next grit they send with the attachment itself is what they call their X4, which is the equivalent of 3,000 grit. That's getting up there pretty high. But the next one is absolutely insane. This baby right here is 12,000 grit. I mean, to my fingers, it is smooth. So I mentioned that this 120 grit belt and a couple of the others are pretty well used already on this. I've taken the last week and a half to practice using it. I've had a few knives that I didn't really like the bevel of. Change a knife to make it fit my personality, so to speak. But I've also been using it, and this is the very well used part of it. Excuse me. This knife right here. Now granted guys, this is the very first knife I've ever made. I know it's not a lot to look at, especially my choice of micarta leaves a lot to be desired if you ask me. But I have to admit I'm pretty well pleased with how it turned out. This is very usable. I styled this after just a regular kitchen paring knife. I'll be honest, I'm making some knives for my wife for her birthday coming up here in a couple weeks. But anyway, this one is very usable. This thing has way more potential than I have skill, and probably will ever have skill. So for a hobbyist, I would definitely recommend this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So there's been a lot of yakking, a lot of showing off so far. So what am I going to do to show off on this thing and do it justice? I'm going to hit it up again how I've been using it. I have used it to alter the grinds on knives. I have used it to actually sharpen knives, and it works absolutely fantastically for that. And I'll probably include a couple of clips of that into this video somewhere. But from my perspective, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make another knife. This is based off the same style or design that the knife I just showed you. I cut this blank out last night. Now I'm going to turn this into a knife. Now I'll be upfront and honest, I don't have any scale material for the handle, so we're just going to finish out this blank here, put an edge on it, heat treat it and all that stuff. And the last thing before we actually get started that I need to point out is that while the work on this system is all freehand for the most part, you do have some really good reference points on both sides here. Both of these are at 90 degrees to where you want to be. So you lay your knife that you want to sharpen down flat on that shelf. You bring it up here, holding it at the same angle, and there you go. And over here, you're in an exact 90 degrees to the belt running right here. So if you're wanting to put a 90-degree spine on, or you wanting to do a mass removal of material like we're going to be doing with this blank here and cleaning it up, then there you go. All right, folks, well, time to get to work. Enjoy the music. out of heat treat and just rough cleaned up a little bit. Now we're going to put an edge on it. Normally I would wait until I've had a handle on it to actually put the final edge on, but I'll just wrap it up with some tape or something like that to keep me safe, and so I can show you guys how to use this belt grinder attachment. I'm still waiting on the handle material to come in, so, and it's going to be probably about a week before it's here. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get this finished up and see what it can do. First off, in this part, you're going to want to select your angle. I'm aiming for like a rough duty kitchen knife type of edge, and so I'm going to go ahead and go in the middle with 20. A kitchen knife, normally you'd go with around 17, give or take a little bit. And then if you're looking more for a utility edge, like bushcraft, that sort of thing, you'd probably aim for around 22, something like that. But again, everybody has their own idea on the perfect blade grind and setup and stuff like that. I've got my jar of water over here just to help keep the steel cool so I don't ruin that temper I just did. And of course I've got my obligatory coffee going on over here. But anyway, let me get set up. We're going to start off with the 120 just to kind of get started on it, and then gradually move up on the grits. Back to the reference point. So guys, here is basically the finished product. The edge isn't quite where I want it yet, but I'm going to go ahead and put the handle on before I take it that far. I mean, it's still, as you can see, cuts paper beautifully. Turned out pretty good for a second knife that I've ever made. This is one of the really cool things about this blade grinder attachment. It brings hobbyist knife making home to guys who don't have a shop full of tools. This is a Mora Bushcraft Forester from the factory. The spine is about as round as you're going to get on any knife. I mean, it's almost shaped like an egg. It's non-usable for scraping purposes. So let's use this baby to fix it. As you can see, we had to remove quite a bit of material. But, see how she works. Feels pretty good. I'll call that a success. I don't catch my bench on fire. Well guys, thank you very much for joining me today for this Gauntlet review of the Worksharp Blade Grinder Attachment. Like I said before, I think this really brings a lot of options to the table for someone who doesn't have a shop full of tools. And even for those guys who do have a shop full of tools, it is a lot of tools in one package. Quick and easy changeover to different belts, different angles. It's kind of like their guided sharpener, but an electric model. It makes things faster, easier, and just the variety of belts they have to offer for it makes it easy to really hone down exactly how sharp you want your knife to be. I mean, you can even polish bevels. So it's really cool in my opinion. I've had a lot of fun playing with this. Thank you very much for Worksharp for sending this out. This thing is going to see a lot of use. I really appreciate it. And guys, as always, if you've enjoyed this review or you found it helpful in making a decision whether this is the correct tool for you, or if you just want to try it out, please go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to see what else I have coming down the pipeline on my regular channel stuff, whether playing with fire or doing reviews or whatnot, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And guys, as always, please hit up the comment section. I really enjoy the feedback in the comments and the discussions. They get started off of videos such as these. But, as always, I'll see you next time, guys.